Sam was shaken. He had always considered himself a rational and level-headed person, but this experience left him feeling vulnerable and exposed. He tried to rationalize the situation, telling himself that it was just a prank or a random stranger trying to scare him. However, deep down, he knew there was more to it than that. The feeling of being watched was still present, and it made his skin crawl. He tried to shake it off, but the sense of dread lingered. Sam tried to distract himself, scrolling mindlessly through social media, but it was no use. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. As the night wore on, he became increasingly restless, and sleep was impossible. Finally, as dawn approached, Sam decided to take a walk outside. He hoped the fresh air would clear his head and calm his nerves. As he walked down the deserted street, he felt a sense of relief. The sun was rising, and the darkness was dissipating. For a moment, he felt safe. But then, out of the corner of his eye, he saw a figure in the distance. It was too far away to make out any details, but Sam's heart rate quickened. The figure seemed to be moving closer, and Sam was rooted to the spot, unable to move. As the figure drew nearer, Sam's terror grew. It was the same shadowy figure he had seen outside his window the night before. But this time, it was real. It was walking towards him, step by step, until it was only a few feet away. Sam was frozen in fear, unable to move or speak. The figure seemed to be studying him, and Sam could feel its eyes on him. It was as if the figure was searching for something, but Sam didn't know what. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, the figure turned and walked away. Sam was left standing there, alone and shaken. He couldn't explain what had just happened, but he knew one thing for sure: he never wanted to experience that feeling of dread again. As Sam made his way back to his house, he felt a sense of relief wash over him. He was safe, for now, but he knew that he would never forget the terrifying experience he had just gone through. Days turned into weeks, and Sam tried to put the incident behind him. He tried to convince himself that it was just a strange coincidence, but he couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. He had trouble sleeping, and his nerves were frayed. Then, one night, as he was getting ready for bed, Sam heard a knock at the door. It was the same faint knock he had heard on that fateful night. His heart raced as he approached the door, and his hands trembled as he opened it. To his horror, the figure was there, standing in the darkness. It was real, and it was closer than ever. Sam tried to scream, but his voice caught in his throat. The figure seemed to be studying him, as if deciding what to do next. Finally, the figure spoke. "I've been watching you, Sam. You're not safe. You never were." Sam tried to back away, but the figure was too fast. It grabbed him by the arm, and Sam felt a coldness seep into his bones. He knew, then, that he was going to die. But just as suddenly, the figure let him go and disappeared into the night. Sam was left standing there, alone and confused. He didn't know what had just happened, but he knew that he had narrowly escaped death. From that day forward, Sam never forgot the terror he had experienced. He knew that he had come face to face with something beyond his understanding. Regenerate